Hello everyone, and in this new series that we're starting, we're going to make a main menu template that will act as a new template for your projects, so that each project you make now will have a main menu. And in today's video, we're just going to get started with making the setup for this project. Okay, so to start, I'm going to make this main menu in the third person template. And what I'm going to do with this, if you're following along, we're going to make a new third person template that has a main menu attached, so that in future you can just duplicate this project that we're going to make, and then you'll always have a main menu prepared. And if you're just following along with your own project, that's fine too. But if you work more in a different template, I would advise you go with that template. And so with that, we'll create a third person, call it new third person, and we will create the project. Okay, so I've got my project open. And the first thing that we need to do is go into our third person folder, maps, and we're going to create a new level inside here. Let's call it our main menu. Okay, and now we're in a completely blank level, and before we start making our main menu, in our third person template at least, or well, I imagine most, if we press play and look around, you can see that the third person still spawns in on play, which means that eventually they'll fall into the kill zone and it'll just stop the game. So, to get around this, we need to go into our world settings, and in our game mode override, we click this down. We're going to click the BP third person game mode, which is the game mode that we're using anyway. But doing this override lets us change all these things. So the class that we're going to spawn is the spectator pawn. And this will just create a flying character, so that this way that kill zone won't happen. So we'll go into our content folder and we'll make a folder for our UI. And then we'll right click, go to user interface and create a widget blueprint. Use a widget, call it our main menu. And then before we're actually going to go into this, we want to open our level blueprint. And on begin play, we want to create widget. You see our main menus there. Promote it to a variable. Call our main menu. And we want to add it to the viewport. And then so now the UI will be put to the screen as soon as we play. We also want to get our player controller. We want to show the mouse. Put that to true. And we want to change the input mode to UI only, so that now we can't control the player. And we're just going to plug our main menu into here. Which I think is more for when we're using multiple user interfaces, but we can still plug it in, it doesn't really matter. Right, and with that we can now go into our main menu. So if you've... Okay, so now that we're in the widget menu, the first thing that we need to do in UE5 is create a canvas panel. And usually, if you use the UE4, it will create this automatically, but in UE5 it doesn't. So that should always be your first step. And then we need to create a tile. Type in text, drag that in, and I'm just going to call mine third person template. I'm going to set my font to 64. I'm going to anchor it to the top middle. And then if I press these, take them back to 0, they'll snap to it. Let's center my text. And then I'm going to use my arrow keys to kind of snap move it. And I'm just going to line up the little white dot of my text box with the anchor, just because I know that's in the middle. Name the text title. Promote it to a variable, because we're going to need to affect this later. And then we're going to want to look inside the panels tab. And these are all just different kinds of boxes that let us organize things like buttons and texts in different kind of ways. And so for our main menu, we want a list. And we're going to do this with a vertical box. So drag this to the side, open it, and then we're going to get our first button. And as you can see, by default, a vertical box will kind of stretch the button and make it fit perfectly. And then if we just duplicate these, you see it fits like that. And we're going to fix that. So the first thing we're going to do is we want to change our horizontal alignment to center. We can have it on the left or on the right, or set it to fill, which is what it was on before. And the padding will give us some space in between. So in the top, put it to 25, and now if I duplicate this, you'll see that now our buttons will actually have some space between them. But first, before I start making more buttons, if we get another text and drag it into our button, the button will fill to fit the text inside. So this is going to be our start button. I'm going to promote it to a variable again. And we're going to change the colour and opacity to black, just so that we can see it a little better. I got named a little wrong. Start underscore button. There we go, the name was having a bit of an issue. And now we just want to duplicate this a few times. And we need to name them all appropriately. start button. This will be our settings. Just settings button. And change the text. And this will be our exit. Because we always need some kind of exit in our projects, because a lot of things that people do when they first make a project, package it, is that they won't add an input to turn off the game, meaning that anyone that's using it is kind of either trapped in the game or they'll have to press the Windows key to kind of tab out. And so make our exit. Oh, named the wrong thing there. Exit. Oh yeah, I suppose. Input text. We change this to settings text. Right, so now we have our menu with a few buttons. So now if we go into our graph, we'll see on the side all the variables we created, we now have access to. So we want to get our buttons. And as you can see, there's a lot of events plugged into our buttons. So now if we do this, we can add an event whenever we click our button. So in the first one, we want to get our open level. And then we'll do, yeah, that's right, quick game. And we'll do something different with this. We need to make a few more things inside of our designer first. So if we just look at our maps, it's called third person map. I don't see that. And as you remember, we need to name it perfectly. So third person. Brilliant. And now, just to get started, we need to make a panel for our settings. So I want a bit more of a free-form design. So I'm going to use a canvas panel. Just basically like this. And we can actually fit different types of panels inside of other panels. So I'm going to go for a horizontal box at the top. And then just do what we did last time. Although, I quite like the idea of that being filled. So we'll try that. And the padding, we're going to add 10 on the left and the right. So we'll get our text again. And this text might be too big, we'll see. So first we'll do gameplay. So this will be the gameplay button. capital. And duplicate it. You'll have graphics. Change the text. And then we'll duplicate it one more time. Have an audio. We'll change the text. And then doesn't seem like there's anything to arrange the buttons. So we do this and we anchor this to the middle. It's really, we do want it. So in the middle of the graphics, there we go. And then we can resize that back down. Alright, and now we've got 3 more buttons. Brilliant. And on the panel, we'll call this our settings panel. And our vertical box we'll call the main menu. And so now, just to finish off this video, we'll get it set up so that we can change between 3 different panels on clicking these buttons. So we'll get a canvas panel. And we'll call this our gameplay panel. And if we duplicate it, so we'll duplicate it, but we will also just keep a note of those and change them. So that's 2088. We'll change this to settings panel. And then 2088 in the X and the Y, and we'll have our audio. Alright, and then so I'll hide the settings in the audio just for test purposes. Call this one gameplay. Just put it in the middle. Let's hide this. And as you can see, this gameplay text is almost a child of this canvas panel. So if we hide the canvas panel, it will hide everything inside of it. Graphics. last audio. And now, if we go in again, first off we want to make sure settings panel is variable. As you can see, because we selected it in the designer, it will select it in our variables. So we want to pull it out and we want to visibility. And we'll do a flip flop. And by default, we're going to make it invisible. So on the first click, visible, second hidden. And we will just change that. Let's go visible, hidden, on play. So that, if we've coded it all to work correctly, now, so it made everything invisible because we didn't plug anything in. But right now, as you can see, when we make it visible, it also makes all of its children visible, which is not what we want. So if we stop that, and there aren't any extra settings, so I'm going to copy this over. So upon making our settings panel visible, we want to get, if you just type in panel, we need to make these variables. Got the audio panel. Did it not work for you too? Oh, it's just because I think the other two were two ends. That's why. I'll change that. Audio and the other one. So you must have named wrong. Make that right. And there we go. Brilliant. So, although I think we want at least one open, so we'll leave the gameplay panel. So if we open it up now, you can see we can now open and close this panel as we wish. And we'll put this in a group, call it main menu. And so now we select our buttons. I thought that was going to work. So we're going to create inputs for all of our buttons. And as we make this bigger and bigger, you'll find that these events all go in a list, so it'll keep throwing you down there. So when we click the gameplay button, one foot. Or actually, just a bit cleaner, we might want to actually do a branch. You get panels, and this way be a lot cleaner to check the visibility. And do it that way. Set visibility. See hidden. And visible. See what's best for cleaning this up. There we go. And then panel. And then do this again for our audio. And then put this in a group called settings main options. That we're going to put in the greater settings panel there. And we're just going to, oh, there we go. Make this pretty big. And this is where all the settings options that we're going to go through are going to exist. And so, but with that, make sure that's all plugged in correctly. So gameplay, graphics, audio, except I forgot that we only want one of these to be open at a time, so anytime we make something visible, we need to make the other panels hidden. go. And the last one. We can also just drag it straight to the bottom. It is also important to note that we can plug multiple of these into our set visibility node, which is really, really useful. And now you can go from gameplay, graphics, and audio. And if we select between them, we get our different videos. So that is the basic setup of our main menu done. And now we can start making these different menu panels and actually making them do things that affect our game. But with that, I will catch you next time. Thank you for watching.